Okay, picture this. You're living in a world where a single sneeze, a heavy footstep, or, even just a sudden gasp means absolute instant death. It's a terrifying concept, right? But it's actually fueled some of our most gripping modern nightmares, really tapping into that primal human fear of being stalked in the pitch black. Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're going to bridge the gap between those terrifying sound-hunting monsters of pop culture and the totally fascinating real-world biological science of animal echolocation. We're going to see how Hollywood's absolute wildest predator concepts are actually rooted in biological marvels that exist right outside our doors. Section 1. Pop culture's blind monsters. The terrors that hunt in the dark. We're starting things off with cinematic terrors, exploring the apex predators of fiction that completely lack sight and rely literally entirely on sound to track their prey. Let's look at two iconic monsters. On one hand, you've got the Death Angels from the A Quiet Place franchise, these extraterrestrial, heavily armored nightmares that hunt exclusively via airborne sound. And then, on the flip side, we have the Graboids from the Tremors films. These are subterranean 30-foot giant worms that track you through seismic vibrations in the earth. So while one is hunting the skies and the surface, and the other is stalking you beneath the dirt, they're both driven by an absolute total reliance on auditory and vibrational cues to find you. And if you look closely at the lore of the Death Angels, it reveals some wildly fascinating traits. I mean, they arrived on Earth inside a meteor, they're completely blind, and their bodies are wrapped in this virtually indestructible natural armor. But here is the craziest part. They don't even eat humans. No, their biology simply drives them to violently silence any noise they hear. They do have a couple weaknesses, though. They cannot swim, which makes islands a total safe haven, and they're completely incapacitated by shrill, high-frequency noises, which kind of short-circuits them and exposes the vulnerable flesh right beneath that armor. Section 2. Real-world echolocation. Earth's actual sound hunters. Let's step out of the movies and into the real world to see how these terrifying fictional concepts are based on highly evolved realities happening around us right now. Because nature, it definitely has its own blind hunters. The crucial thing to understand here is echolocation, or biosonar. Basically, it's a built-in, biological, active sonar system. Animals emit calls out into their environment and then just listen super carefully to the echoes that bounce back off of objects near them. This lets them navigate, forage, and literally hunt in total darkness, purely by measuring the tiny time delay between their own sound emission and its returning echo. It's an unbelievably precise way to map out the world. Now, while fiction gives us invading aliens and giant worms, nature gives us an amazing, diverse array of mammals and birds that actually use this exact ability. Obviously, you probably already know about bats and toothed whales like dolphins and sperm whales, right? But echolocation is also used by an incredible variety of animals you might not expect. We're talking shrews, solenodons, tenrecs, and even cave-dwelling birds like oilbirds and swiftlets. Section 3. How biosonar works. The mechanics of hunting by sound. So, how does this actually function? How are these animals processing sound to effectively see their environment in high definition? Let's get into the mechanics. There are really two main types of echolocation signals. First up, we have frequency modulated, or FM signals. These are broadband, downward sweeping sounds. They are absolutely perfect for navigating tight, cluttered spaces, like a dense forest, because they give the animal incredibly precise distance discrimination. Then you have constant frequency, or CF tones. These are narrowband signals that stay totally constant. They act a lot like a police radar gun, using the Doppler sift to detect the exact velocity and flutter of a moving target, like, say, a tiny insect flying out in the open sky. Just to understand the sheer scale of the frequencies we're talking about here, bat calls can reach as high as 212 kilohertz. To put that into perspective for you, the absolute upper limit of human hearing is only about 20 kilohertz. So these animals are operating on a sensory plane that is massively beyond human perception. We literally couldn't hear them screaming if we tried. And it's not just the high frequencies. The volume is absolutely staggering. Some bat echolocation calls hit 140 decibels. Guys, that is essentially the volume of a jet engine roaring right next to your ear. Because it is so loud, these bats have this unbelievable adaptation. They actually have to rapidly lower their own call intensity mid-flight, right before the echo returns, just so they don't completely deafen themselves with their own voices. How wild is that? Then, as a bat closes in on its prey, things speed up. Just like that escalating, terrifying tension of a movie monster zeroing in on a survivor, bats deploy what scientists call the terminal buzz. They drastically increase the repetition rate of their calls, up to 200 clicks per second. This gives them rapid-fire, real-time updates of their prey's location right before they make the final strike. Section 4. Evolution of echolocation, a history of biosonar. Okay, moving right along, let's look at how this incredible biological trait actually came to exist over vast spans of evolutionary history. Because biosonar isn't some new phenomenon. If we look at cetaceans, the ancient ancestors of whales, the archaeocetes, they were already developing directional underwater hearing around 49 million years ago. Fast forward to 34 million years ago, and odontocetes, the toothed whales, had evolved true echolocation. That major upgrade paved the way for a massive adaptive radiation of dolphins, starting about 23 million years ago. So yeah, this is a finely tuned system that is literally millions of years in the making. Now, what is truly, absolutely mind-blowing about this whole thing is the concept of convergent evolution. Echolocation didn't just evolve once, it evolved repeatedly and entirely independently across completely different species. That means bats taking to the night sky and whales diving into the deep ocean developed this exact same biological active sonar system entirely independently of one another. Nature literally found the exact same brilliant solution for two totally different environments. Section 5. When fiction becomes reality, bringing the terror home. Finally, let's close the loop here by showing how modern entertainment is bringing this terrifying reality of sound hunting directly into your living room, bridging that gap between biology and our own survival instincts. There's a 2024 survival horror video game called A Quiet Place: The Road Ahead, and it takes this concept to the absolute extreme. The game features this optional microphone noise detection setting. That means the developers actually found a way to blur the lines between the digital world and your physical reality in your room. The resulting tension is just incredible. With that setting on, any real-world noise you make will betray you. If you're playing the game and you accidentally cough, or if your phone buzzes, or hey, if your cat walks into the room and meows, the microphone picks it up. The deadly in-game death angels detect that real-world sound, and they will hunt you down. It forces you to experience at least a fraction of the tension these fictional survivors and, honestly, real-world prey feel every single second. So, knowing what we know now about the incredible, highly evolved realities of biosonar that exist all around us today, I'll leave you with this one question. Do you think you'd survive if nature turned sound into the ultimate weapon against you? It's a pretty haunting thought to take with you the next time you step outside into the quiet of the night. Thanks so much for joining me for this explainer, and hey, keep your ears open.